Right, welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone.
So, after about 5 hours of trying to make this work, we finally got a solution to our technical issues.
Chris has found the whole process very entertaining.
Yeah, sat there from his throne. Thoroughly entertaining.
Thoroughly.
We've gone back to we've gone to one mic now to see if that is a better setup for us. Because we couldn't get two mics working. And you can laugh all you want, but
I like it, you know. I actually like this. I can see you more face to face. I don't have to hold on.
You don't have to hold it.
Yeah, that is true. That was literally what I was about to follow up with.
Yeah,
I don't have to hold a mic anymore.
So we also tried the one camera setup. I didn't particularly like that. Didn't really work for us. We couldn't see any of our mouths moving. So we're back to one mic, two cameras. That camera is going to switch off probably in about 12 minutes. But at this point, we just got to go for it. Go for it. Welcome back, Simran.
Thank you very much, Kieran.
Where have you been?
I've been
Do
to
tell
India.
everyone.
Been to India for the past 2 weeks, and it's been a mad 2 weeks, but two of the best weeks of my life.
So why were you in India?
I was visiting family, travelling all over the country, praying in temples, attending a wedding.
That's not too bad, is it? That's not too bad.
Almost ended up attending my own wedding.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
when you meet 20 of your family, you might get a marriage proposal here and there.
Marriage proposal or two.
What did you think of India then?
Oh,
Is
it's
it nice?
very different world. Very different world. It's take everything you know about Western culture and throw it out the bin when you go over there. It's very, very different.
Yeah.
I'll just love the family life over there though. Climate change has hit it like a brick to the face though. That is undeniable. It is very hard to breathe over there, but the country itself is absolutely fantastic.
And how did the weather treat you?
It was, for me it was warm, it was 30 degrees, but for the Indians it was their version of winter. So for me it was warm, but obviously the smog does block out a bit of the sun, hence why I've not got the biggest tan in the world coming back after 2 weeks, but it treated me good. I was lovely and warm, because all the Indians kept offering me coats, like they kept asking if I was cold.
What were they wearing? Were they wearing
They were
coats?
wearing full-blown puffer jackets, like they were freezing. I was just there like, it's 30 degrees.
Well, we have missed you.
I've
Me and
missed you
Chris
all too.
have been here holding down the fort, haven't we, Chris?
Yeah.
Trying not to kill each other.
I can imagine.
But no, we've not had a bad time, to be honest. We have just been basically finishing off things with the game and starting some of the marketing. Looking back at like the games industry for the past 2 weeks, coming off the back of everyone kind of releasing the games, it's been fairly slow. We're coming up to the Game Awards and also the discussion of what our game of the year is, two different things. But the Game Awards are tonight, I think.
Tonight.
Tonight.
You looking forward to it, Chris?
What are you thinking?
Yes.
I don't really look forward to it too much. I'm not
I
massive
used
into it.
to,
I watch
like,
it post, but I don't watch it
In
live.
uni, I used to be the stay up late and watch it, and I was but
I
over the
really
years,
enjoy it for the announcements.
yeah,
That's it.
it's the closest things to an Oscars the video games have,
Yeah.
which is Jeff Keighley's intentions to begin with.
Yeah. It's a bit of a hard industry to put and contain within an Oscar type of ceremony.
Yeah,
There is so many titles out now. So many titles and so many indie titles. You obviously have your AAA. Like last year, it literally came down to, is it God of War or Red Dead?
yeah. Like, how do you pick between those two?
Yeah, we have a few more nominations this year.
Red Dead.
I think it was, for me, it was Red Dead. I did
No,
like
it's
Red
right,
Dead.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man was a good game.
The only one in the world. No, there was a few honourable mentions of Spider-Man, wasn't there?
That's the best game I've
I
played.
didn't think it pushed the envelope too much, though. It was just a good superhero game.
It didn't need to.
We'll see what they do
We'll
with the
see.
sequel. So, if we're just starting with kind of the Game Awards, we'll go through some of the nominations, see what you
Okay.
think.
We had a
See,
we had a quick look at some of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've kept my eye out of what's
Yeah.
getting nominated. Death Stranding's up there.
A few times.
Death Stranding winning every nomination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But seems like a bit of a coincidence, this, doesn't it, Chris?
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
So, the Game of the Year nominees, there are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7? We're on 7? Yeah. So the nominees are... Oh no, there's 6. So the nominees are Control, the Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, followed by
The Outer Worlds.
The Outer Worlds, which is a. I'm glad it's in there because like, is it a indie game now?
No. I think
They're an
it's a
independent
double-
studio, aren't
It's
they?
a double A game, I think, technically.
No, but they are an independent studio, aren't they?
Yeah.
Who's publishing it?
Listen, I'm claiming it. It's an indie game.
Best indie game ever.
Yeah, with the highest budget. It's Obsidian themselves, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What, they sell?
All kept in house. And it's an Obsidian original.
It is.
That's what we've been waiting for.
It's published by Private Division, who are a American video game publisher based in New York City, the brainchild of Take-Two Interactive's Michael. We're back on this name thing again. I always got WOROSZ. Is that the GoPro going again?
Yeah.
That's great. We'll try it again. Carry on going.
Yep.
As you can tell, we've had
Many technical difficulties today, but we're just going to roll with it.
see
Cause-
how it goes.
Because
Because time is ticking, and we started this at 10 o'clock.
this morning and it's now 3:30
I would
in
like
the
to
afternoon.
apologise, it's probably my fault.
Hashtag blame Chris.
It's always Chris's fault. I'm gonna change camera angles for you in a minute.
This is why we can't have nice things, Chris. You.
I don't deserve nice things.
Apparently, well, it's everything Chris touches
Vanishes or breaks.
somehow. So yeah.
We've still got a door.
I'm amazed.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
amazed.
surprised we've still got anything with Chris in the room. Things go missing, things break quite a lot. So, yeah, back to the nominations. Game of the Year.
So out of all those,
What we thinking? I don't personally think Control deserves to be there.
I just don't think. What did it do? Did it push any barriers at all in any way?
In terms of storytelling,
I know the mechanics came out quite well, like the actual time control mechanics that they had. I know they went, but I wouldn't say it's Game of the Year.
it's the same Jedi Fallen Order isn't allowed in the nominations.
It's not allowed.
The submissions for the nominations finished. The deadline was when the day the game came out. So that will hopefully get an honourable mention next year.
It deserves an award.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone will care. I don't think anyone will care next year.
No, they won't. Cyberpunk's going to be
Jedi
out
Fallen
on
Order.
You're going to have Cyberpunk coming out. That's going to be on everyone's attention by that point.
I think by the time we get to the end of next year with the new consoles on the horizon, we've got Last of Us 2 next year. We've got
Cyberpunk.
I don't think we'll be really talking about the Jedi Fallen Order.
Unless it gets a lot of DLC.
Maybe it's not fair to hold the Game Awards when they do it. They maybe should be held the following year for the previous year. You know what I mean?
You mean like January time?
Yeah. That way, every game that's released that year gets a fair shake.
Don't they do that for the Oscars? I'm sure they hold the Oscars later on, later
This is
into
the
the.
reason why Smash Bros is in running for Game of the Year, even though it came out last year. But it came out
Because it
before
missed.
the
Why?
deadline.
Because
I'm sure-
Did it miss the deadline last time, Smash Bros?
I'm sure. I'm sure Smash Bros is in there most years. Yeah. So the 91st Academy Awards was held on the 25th of February. Do you think we should kind of?
Yeah, I think we should move it to January. Give
Yeah.
everyone a fair shot. Give every game that year.
I can kind of understand why they hold it now. We're in like a dead area of no games are coming out now until
And it gives-
January.
And it gives the games industry something to talk about between November to
Yeah.
December.
It allows us to talk about things over Christmas. and into the new year, and then we start afresh then. So I do understand it, but yeah. So I personally, I don't feel like Control sold well and got quite a good reception, but it's not been on the tip of anyone's tongue really.
I've watched a lot of gameplay. It just doesn't seem to break any barriers at all. Like it
It was
doesn't.
indie game though, wasn't it? So,
Was it?
Was it an indie game? It was.
It's by 505 Games and Remedy.
I think they're AA, aren't they?
Are they?
I'm not too sure. I think they are.
Well, I wouldn't class it as AAA.
Is it backed by? It seems like in a similar vein to like Alan Wake.
Alan Wake was a good game. I loved it.
How many games has Remedy made? They've made Alan Wake's American Nightmare, Quantum Break, and Control. I wouldn't really consider them indie.
It's funny.
Okay, yeah.
I got a Quantum Break vibe from it. So
Yeah,
that's
fully. Alan Wake, yeah. And I personally don't think Quantum Break lived up to what it was meant to.
No, because it tried to be this TV series, video game adaptation, didn't it? Of blending a TV show in with a game, but we've seen that try and be done before. It went the same route. A lot of it was just watching.
I just don't think that concept works in general.
Yeah, you don't think? I think it could be done right. It's just a matter of finding that balance. Because I know Defiance, do you know the old type TV series? They tried to link it up so that people who played the MMO, the creators would get actors who looked like certain characters in the MMO that got really high ranks and put them in the TV show.
I remember something like that, and that might have been what you're talking about.
I think with when the Xbox One came out, that was the conversation on everyone's lips, is how are they going to relate to this kind of like all-in-one box next generation. That I don't think it's worked out this time. I think based off the back of some of the controversy that happened from the Xbox One launch and the fact that there's actually been nothing on the console for this generation.
Very little.
Next is Death Stranding, a controversial one. I think it deserves its nomination.
Do you think it's Game of the Year? That's the question.
If we're going off public perception, and reception post-launch, no. Because the game isn't this mass market phenomenon that everyone kind of expected it to be. Considering it was Hideo Kojima's first game since leaving Konami. In terms of the spectacle and how well it was put together,
the tech and the production,
and kind of what it was aiming to do, which was it was aiming to kind of define what a new genre is. I do think it does deserve a place on the list. I'm yet to play it. I'm going to play it maybe over Christmas if I pick it up. We'll see. But
yeah, I think it deserves its place. Whether or not I think it was a good game, I can't say 'cause I haven't played it, but it's done a lot of things that are quite innovative that we haven't seen before, like that. The asynchronous multiplayer.
yeah, of course.
Okay.
Where it brings people together without ever actually interacting with them.
Yeah.
I
So they have the asynchronous multiplayer, and then they also have some of the mechanics in it, and the systems are incredibly deep.
The physics system of carrying the parcels and stuff.
Yeah,
and how
of course. And I've never ever seen a game like it. So I think judging and I think that's why Spider-Man, for instance, last year wasn't, because although it was this mass market game that appealed to everyone, it didn't really change the formula. It took a lot from other games, and that is what would be my concern with the Jedi Fallen Order being in this year's list. I don't think it did. It was kind of jack of all trades, master of none. It took everyone's mechanics and the way those games worked and tried its best.
Say Death Stranding is the most unique game we've had this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Fully.
Resident Evil 2.
I like the way they're going about these remakes. Like, they're looking really nice. Like, they've just announced Resident Evil 3, and they all look like really
They
good.
announced it.
Wait, is it out yet?
It got leaked.
No, they announced it at the
There's a trailer.
PlayStation
Oh, okay.
Direct or
I
whatever
saw a
it's
little
called.
bit while I was away.
PlayStation, what's it called?
They look like
Same
real
way.
good remakes, so
Yeah.
it's they're going all out for it. So I'd say it earns a spot in there. I'd say it deserves a spot in there because I've seen Resident Evil 2 and it looks phenomenal,
Yeah.
and it is a
My
definite
favourite thing
remake.
is it's not just a remake, point for point.
But-
they've taken it and advanced where it's evolved with today's technology.
But with
And
them,
it's almost a completely different experience. but
the
still
the argument would be, does it deserve a nomination? It is a game that's already been out. So
But-
it is a
But it is a
game that
complete
came out
complete
years ago.
same.
overhaul.
If it was a port, but it's not.
Yeah, but it's not a HD remaster. It's a
Yeah.
complete overhaul. Like it's a
Well,
new
shouldn't
game.
shouldn't we make room for games that are actually new games and not? Because if
Nostalgia.
we just keep remastering them and then,
But
like,
it's
would you
it's not a
we've been
remaster.
saying the same.
It's a
Spyro
remake.
was the same.
I would say it was the
I'd
same.
say Spyro was an entirely different game. It was a remake. It was like, although it looks and sort of takes the foundation of the original,
It's
a
the same
completely
game.
different game.
Well, no, it's the same
That's
game
different.
though,
It's
isn't it?
different. That was a remake. That's a remake, but it's almost a point for point. So
Yeah.
I see your argument, but I think comparing it to Resident Evil 2, or even the remake of Resident Evil,
What's the difference between Resident Evil 2 then and a Spyro remaster?
the gameplay is completely different.
And a
Oh,
load,
is it?
And a load
Completely
completely
Okay.
different, and a lot of the stories changed as well,
It's
hasn't
all
it?
it plays like Resident Evil 4.
Oh, fantastic!
It's a third-person shooter now.
Hmm.
Instead
And what
of-
was it
instead
before?
of the fixed point camera controls, your tank controls.
Oh,
Remember
fantastic!
It's a
Yeah.
lot like The Evil Within. It plays a lot like The Evil Within.
All right, so
Totally different.
I was just playing devil's advocate, but no, you bring it. That's an interesting point. I personally do think that it deserves to be in there because apparently it's done it so well. People have been raving about it. But yeah, so Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice from Software.
I think that more than deserves to be in there. It's a phenomenal game. I think it's better than the Dark Souls trilogy. I think it's up there with Bloodborne, just because it does a complete unique approach to Japanese folklore, Japanese culture, and it's just so imaginative. Like the whole world of that game is so imaginative. It is hard. It is brutal. Like it is so brutal, but it's so imaginative, and I think it's just a very creative game.
What have From Software developed before? Are they the developers of
Dark
Dark
Souls,
Souls?
of
Yeah,
Dark
they
Souls.
are. Bloodborne, Dark Souls.
Yeah.
There are. So
It's within their forte, but
it's just another game that's
but it's
the same mechanic. Is it the same mechanics
It's
as
a similar.
like really hard
it is really
dungeon
hard.
crawlery kind of boss
Sort of,
bat?
but it's more
bossy?
open. It's a lot more
Ah,
open,
okay.
and the bosses are more, and the whole world is more.
I'm obviously not saying it's the same game.
No.
I am a proponent for saying that every Assassin's Creed is a different game, and they're obviously the same game, but
But it's built on the same milk.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, it's still a From Software game. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, did that come out this year?
Last year.
Oh, it was off the back of last year. We played it, didn't we? At,
Yeah, I'd say that deserves a spot. I think it's because it's not just a port. It's pretty much a full remake. They've gone back and taken all the content from the past 4 games.
yeah.
Every-
No, that is
everyone
yeah.
is back.
It is literally the ultimate edition of
Yeah.
Smash. I'm yet to play it much.
You've never played it.
No, I have played it. I got it for Christmas last year. And I haven't really played much of it.
I love it, mate.
Like,
I love it within the context of a party, but like
you
me
train
sat on my own playing it bores me a little bit too much.
Oh no, on your own it's boring. You've got to play it with a friend.
Yeah.
There's no other way to play
best
that
way
game.
as a party game, party experience.
Yeah. Outer Worlds. What are we saying?
It deserves a spot on there.
Yeah.
Now everyone knows that this is the one game I was waiting for all year, that I've been waiting for 4 years.
That's an understatement.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, understatement.
Did it live up to the hype though?
I'm mixed on this. I think I put it on too much of a high pedestal. This is the thing. I think I've become so emotionally attached to the idea of what it could be that I don't know whether or not it's failed me or if it's really just this ultimate experience. That
I think you built your expectations too much, and it could never fulfill it, and that's not what the game is. But
because a lot of
it's
people,
what you wanted it
because
to be.
to go off a little bit off track, a lot of people say it's unfair for me to compare it to Fallout New Vegas, but that's saying
You might as well
Die Twice.
come over here. Just wheel yourself over here so the mic can pick you up a little bit easier. Because he's obviously just going to be part of the conversation now until we talk about something that he's not interested in.
I'll go away there if you want.
No, it's fine. I think...
And it is...
I am torn as well. I think that it definitely deserves to be in there as a nomination. It's basically done a Bethesda game right. This is what.
It's not even that. It's done role playing a justice, a role playing that we haven't seen.
Because for a long time,
there's not been a
since
solid...
The Witcher, there's not been a great.
Well, I'd even argue against The Witcher because although I love The Witcher, you're stuck as a default character, and the point of role playing is to give the player complete control over the character and the world. Whereas you're Geralt, although you can make Geralt the type of person he is, you are still Geralt of Rivia, The Witcher. Like,
of course.
You don't have control over who he is, like who his identity is. Whereas in this, you have complete control of the identity, like the background, what they look like, where they come from. You can even say, in fact, they don't have a background. I don't want to choose a background. They're just a person who's here. And you're giving that complete creative control to players.
I understand that. I think. My concern is that type of game, that type of Bethesda game, isn't pushing the boat out enough. I feel like it's kind of stuck in its ways a little bit. I feel like it's not pushing the boat out enough. I do like the idea that you can kill any character, and that kind of lends itself to that kind of role playing.
They've gone more back to the Fallout New Vegas, which is you can literally kill anyone.
Yeah.
But I think they've played it a bit more safer than they did with Fallout New Vegas.
Probably.
And this is where my expectations have not been fulfilled as much.
Yeah. But I think as a business decision, they needed to go pretty safe. I think that a sequel, which will definitely come.
They've already confirmed it.
Oh, there.
They did it in a 100 quick fire questions with GameStop.
Oh,
and
right.
they said, "Are you working on Outworlds 2?" And they said they've got a concept for it.
So there's so much you can do with that.
This was them playing it safe.
So
they were filling a need that's not been filled.
Yeah, of
They were
course.
scratching that itch that people that players have had for ages that they weren't getting.
And it did. It fulfilled that itch. It is an amazing role playing experience.
So, who do you think is going to get it? Game of the year.
I'd like it to be Sicario. Dies Twice. That's my personal.
I think it's Death Stranding.
I hate to say that. I think you're going to be right. I think he will get it.
I don't think Death Stranding deserves it. I know it's trying to. It might win off the merit that it's creating a new genre, and we've not seen that. Last year we got a God of War, which is just a new God of War, which did push the boat out because it was a completely new game.
It tried to be a Last of Us meets God of War a little bit.
It was completely different.
And then Red Dead was a sequel.
Well,
and then Spider-Man was just a superhero game.
But I would argue, like on that podcast we talked about, that Red Dead did push things from a technical perspective. Like it pushed open world technical performances. So the world,
of course, but a lot of it was all.
Death Stranding's in with a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just all the intricacies and the way it's designed. It's done something new. It looks amazing. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I just think it's.
I think maybe because of the cult following, I think Resident Evil 2 might have a good chance.
It's sort of like a redemption story for Kojima. He didn't get given his award last year. Konami took that from him. It would be this ultimate story at the Game Awards that Kojima comes back
very,
a year later and wins the Game Award with his own studio.
Of course. So, what are we saying then? What are we saying? We'll put some bets down. Might as well.
I want it to be Dies Twice.
So,
I think they'll win it.
So you'll say Sekiro.
Yeah.
I'll say. So, Game of the Year. Simran's is Sekiro. Mine is Resident Evil 2, and yours is
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding. In with the easy one over here. for Chris.
I'm saying that from right.
I know. So, action game of the year.
Okay, I saw the nominees for this. I already know which
So,
one.
let me just run through what the nominees are. We have Apex Legends, we have Astral Chain, we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Devil May Cry 5, Gears 5, and Metro Exodus.
Metro Exodus.
Really?
I love it. I'm a huge...
No, but no, you've got to detach your personal preference to what you actually think will win.
It's one of the most realistic, apocalyptic action simulators you will ever play. It does an entirely different spin on the apocalyptic genre compared to what
I
we used
think,
to
no,
see
as a title within the games industry, I don't think it's there. I don't think it's going to be the... I personally feel, out of this list, Apex Legends has a good chance.
I was going to say the same thing, yeah.
It is very innovative, Apex, with the Battle Royale, I will say.
It made enough of a splash. It got a bit of bad press once all the loot box stuff came out post-launch and they hadn't released a lot of content for a while. But I think that moment in time when it came out in February, I think the moment in time and what it did for Battle Royale, for BRs, I think it's got a good chance. What do you think, Chris?
I agree. I think it's got a very good chance. I think of all the games on that list, there was the most to it in terms of action. I think it fits the bill way more than all the other games. Because it's also got the multiplayer aspect. It's done Battle Royale in a way that we've not seen before. That you can actually communicate with your team without actually talking to them.
Of course.
It's just things we've not seen before, and they did it really well.
That sounds, yeah. I personally think that Apex Legends will come out on top. Call of Duty, I just don't think a Game Awards is, apart from maybe the sound design, I don't think Game Awards are the place for Call of Duty. I think the expectation of Call of Duty is it's always going to be a phenomenal game, a phenomenal product, a hype. They spend so much on it every year, but
you say
it's
that
kind
though,
of...
but a lot of people are saying that this is a reform for Call of Duty. That it's been one of the better Call of Duties in a long time.
I just think
we've all played it.
Call of Duty is never bad. Is it really?
In terms of the quality of the product, no. I think it's one of the highest quality products that we get. In terms of innovation and stuff like that, not really. Like,
but we're not on about innovation. We're on about just as an action game, and it is a good action game. Like the multiplayer has shown that.
That's why. I think Apex Legends is innovative.
I think it changed the game for first-person shooters. Definitely didn't mind it because I loved it for a while, but I've not played much of it. It's a little bit similar, tell me if I'm wrong, to nominating like a Marvel film for action film of the year. I feel like we're that accustomed to Marvel films now that I don't...
It's sort of become its own genre.
Yeah, and even Endgame, which was so good. I don't personally think that... I don't think it doesn't deserve it. I think it just won't get the accolades that it may deserve because within the world of superheroes and within the world of geeky culture, it was such a cap end and phenomenon for us. But in terms of the way the Academy looks at it, I think there's that kind of disconnect between the two. I don't know how well a film critic is going to look at Endgame and think that it is a visual masterpiece, but is it a cinematic? It's not very good at giving you context of actually what's going on if you don't know. Yeah,
it's not a great standalone film. It is a great ending, like you say.
Definitely.
But it wasn't meant to be a standalone film. It is meant to be
of course.
An ending.
Exactly.
No, but that's what I mean. So it's similar with taking it back. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is similar with Call of Duty. We get a great Call of Duty every year. It sits within its as a master of its own genre. Not even action game or shooter. It is the master of a competitive
first person.
Yeah, like first person shooter within that kind of esports genre crossover thing.
But it is another one. That's why I feel I get where you're coming from with the Marvel paradox.
Yeah. So action game of the year, I'm saying Apex. What are you saying, Chris?
Apex.
Chris is saying Apex.
You've swayed me.
Simran.
Although I do love Metro, but it probably will be Apex.
Were you saying Apex or Metro?
Apex.
Oh yeah? Are you saying that?
You've swayed me.
Okay. Well, we won't have any bets on that one. So, action adventure game. Why is it action and then action adventure? So we have Borderlands 3, Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Link's Awakening, and Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.
Would you even count Death Stranding as action adventure?
No,
There's no combat really in the game. Like there's not
it's
much action.
It's so rare that the majority of the game is just walking about.
Yeah,
I
it's
wouldn't call
more.
it action.
No.
It's an adventure game though.
I'll call it an adventure game.
Yeah,
So,
but
for the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving, that's exactly what it is.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So, again, Borderlands 3 is an honourable mention. But again,
I just don't think it.
Tricky.
it does everything so well, and it did sell so much more than previous Borderlands has.
Despite all the controversy, it still sold so well.
Well, that was never in doubt.
Oh yeah, but the controversy surrounding obviously its Epic Store exclusivity, people always thought it wasn't going to sell as well, considering.
course. But I think they've reached a new audience. But we'll see more from the Borderlands genre moving forward. It's definitely more on the mass market kind of in their conversations than it ever has been. Again, Death Stranding. I personally think if we're talking adventure game, I'd probably err on the side of nominating like Legend of Zelda. But again, that is a remake, remaster. Do we have the same conversation?
It's exactly the same. It's just remade point for point. It looks beautiful though. Can't give it that.
Is it along the same vein as Resident Evil, or is it?
No, it's
No.
more like Crash. Spyro. It's
Would
quite-
you nominate Crash as a game of the year? Oh,
No,
No.
I couldn't do that.
I couldn't
As
either.
much as I love it, I couldn't do that.
So we'll see. Action adventure. What are we thinking?
It's probably going to be Sekiro. I think that's what I choose.
So Chris says Sekiro. Simran. There's Borderlands 3, Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, The Legend of Zelda, and Sekiro.
I think Max already voted for it once, but I actually, being pragmatic, it's a great action and adventure game, and it does have loads of puzzles, and it challenges the player more than any other
What's this?
game. Sekiro.
Okay.
I'm going to be pragmatic and just say, because I think it will win. I think it's out of all them.
Action adventure.
Yeah, Sekiro is probably the one with the better chance.
I'm gonna go with Death Stranding.
I just think it's not an action game.
Might have
That's what's
to
going to hold it
actually
back.
put a bet on all of these. See if so and so wins, we may get something.
A mince pie.
We'll see.
Kieran wins a mince pie for every time he's right.
I always win a mince pie. Art direction. This is an interesting
Yeah,
one.
okay.
This has got a few in there that that I personally haven't really come across this year. I've heard them mention and stuff, but we'll see. Art direction. So we've got Control again. We've got Death Stranding again. We've got Gris by Nomada Studios. We've got Devolver Digital. We've got Sayonara Wild Hearts. We've got Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and Legends of Zelda with Link's Awakening.
I'm torn on this one.
I'm just going to put it down right now. Art direction. I think that it's either going to be Legends of Zelda or that Sayonara Wild Hearts.
I don't think it's going to be either of them. I'm torn. I think it's either going to be Death Stranding or Gris.
Really?
Because Gris took the internet, especially by Twitter, by storm the day it was posted.
Chris is looking.
Yeah, I don't even know what
Chris is
it is.
googling.
Yeah,
Chris is googling.
The
what it looks
the
like.
art production of Gris is beautiful. Like, I can't even begin. It's like a Renaissance painting.
It's like a water. It's like
It's
like a
more
water
like a
thing you
French
paint.
Renaissance painting.
Yeah.
Come in video game format. But Death Stranding pushed the technical limits. It is so realistic.
Yeah.
And I think it is worthy of an art direction award, because I know from a production standpoint, after watching so many of the behind the scenes stuff, a lot of effort went into it, making Death Stranding look as it does.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal. Yeah,
it does. I'm torn. I don't know which one.
Carry on.
It's
an art direction, not just.
It's not, because I feel like Gris did.
What about
did something different with abstract.
What about all the conversations everyone was having about how Link's Awakening looked?
What do you mean?
Because people were ranting and raving about that, weren't they?
What, ranting against it? Or
no, ranting with it. They said it was looking beautiful. But do you think Nintendo will get the nominations that they deserve?
I think it's good it's nominated, but I don't think it has a chance standing up against something like Gris or Death Stranding.
Yeah, I think it looks beautiful for what it is. I just don't think it's as impressive as say like Death Stranding. Because it's not just the way the character models and textures and environments look in Death Stranding, it's also the cinematography as well.
And just
the direction, the scenes. I class that as art.
The motion capture of it, it's so realistic.
It is.
And that's, but at the same time, Gris is such a different type of art we've ever seen. It's the first ever French watercolor paint game. And it's had its own art books released. It's the only game I've ever heard where it's been featuring like Art Nouveau magazines. It's
okay.
Because a lot of people are just comparing it to modern art, and this is where I'm torn between it.
I've never seen this.
Because I just saw it on Twitter the day it was exploding. I've played it. I've played a bit of it. I've not completed the whole thing yet.
I personally think the art direction is usually dominated by smaller scale games that can do more with their art style.
This is why I think Gris has got the bigger chance, because I think this sort of award is more lenient towards an indie game.
I'm maybe thinking Sayonara Wild Hearts. A very beautiful game, very but again the palette is like very one note, isn't it? It came out on, I want to say, did it come out on Apple Arcade? Yeah. So it came out on Apple Arcade as well, which is another platform that came out this year that I think may steal some awards because it's a new platform, if you know what I mean. But we'll see. What are we saying then? What are we voting for?
I'm going to go with my gut feeling. I'm going to put my bet on Gris.
Gris? Chris?
So I would agree. Or look at past winners. Was it Ori and the Blind Forest?
Yeah.
That was one of them. And that was a similar
Oh,
game.
yeah.
So, yeah.
You going Gris? I'll make it interesting. Sayonara Wild Hearts is really nice looking, but it is very one palette. I'll go for Gris. Well, I'll go for Gris. Might as well. We'll see. So the next one is audio design.
This is an interesting one.
So we have audio design. In audio design, we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare. We have Control. We have Death Stranding.
Control's nominated for everything here, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it is a sleeper. I think it will eventually maybe grow to have a little bit of a better public perception. I think it was a great game and people are really enjoying it, but isn't a game that I am hearing outside of our realm of like our industry people talk about.
Yeah, it's not hit mainstream. It's not hit the mainstream yet. Yeah.
People are talking about Death Stranding. People are talking about Resident Evil 2 coming back. People are talking about these games. I'm just not hearing Control in those conversations, and that obviously is maybe limited to the conversation that I'm having or whatever. But Gears 5, Resident Evil 2, and then we have Sekiro Shadows Die Twice again. Okay. What are we thinking for audio?
So for me, when casting my vote for this, I think the award is deserving of the games that audio best immerses you in the experience.
Yeah.
And although I hate to say it, I think Call of Duty, I think it has got phenomenal audio.
He's a smart man. He's a smart man.
No,
Honestly, I personally believe that as well. Like, I think that they made such a big press release about how much the audio is phenomenal and stuff. I think Simran's right there. Like, we have a really good chance of Call of Duty being the one that
just
snags
because
it this year.
Because I've played the majority of those games on there, and out of all of them, the audio quality is Resident Evil 2 or Call of Duty, because they both immerse you so much. Because obviously Resident Evil's a horror game. What's the strongest element in horror? Audio.
It is a really tricky category though. You don't notice it. It's
one of those.
Good audio design, it immerses you, but
you never notice it.
You're not meant to notice it.
But bad audio, you notice.
Exactly.
But for me, Call of Duty just is immersive.
What about Gears of War though?
Does anyone really care about Gears at this point? Does it?
No, I don't think. I think people who care about Gears cares about Gears, but I don't think anyone who. I've not cared about Gears since the third one, so.
I've never played a Gears.
Let's say.
Well, Chris isn't part of this conversation.
Resident Evil is worthy of its nomination because horror is such a hard thing to nail, and it does nail its audio well. I think it's the contender with Call of Duty, but my money's on Call of Duty.
Okay, I personally think that as well. So we're saying Call of Duty for me and Sim, and we're saying
what for you, Chris?
I'm gonna go with Resident Evil.
Really?
Res 2. Well, interesting.
That'll make.
Here we go. Community support. So this is defined by. No, this is a great category. This
games
is
that have basically shown a love for their communities and actually innovated and actually taken feedback on board. I'm glad because I've never heard of this being an award before at the Game Awards. I'm glad to see this sort of stuff being recognised.
First nomination, MGU.
Hey.
So first nomination is Apex Legends. We have Destiny 2. We have Final Fantasy, Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege, and that's it.
I'm in two camps about this.
Same.
I think Apex or Fortnite. I personally think Apex. Just because with Fortnite, it's a case of it's one big update and then they go silent. Apex is always talking to their communities on Reddit, social channels, introducing new things, new events.
Well, to play devil's advocate with that, Fortnite's updates are far more consistent. There's a new update every week, big or small. There's something new. Every week.
Yeah, but that's the same with Apex. They have new challenges every week that you can just go for. Like they always have in-game events going every single week.
It's not just challenges. It could be weapons, vehicles.
Same with Apex, though.
They also do the seasons.
They're always updating their weapons and creating new armor sets.
Every week.
And Destiny 2 is another contender. Like
it has.
They've listened to a lot of the feedback they got from release because it was a nightmare.
Yeah, Destiny 2.
And I think
Destiny in general has been.
Yeah, rough. But I think they have quite a nice tight knit community. I think they could come through, but they also have a community that is very, very dedicated. People doing raids and stuff.
And
like
this
that.
is the thing that is that it's Bungie's first independent title with the Destiny franchises because they had I talk about this a lot, but they had a lot of issues with Destiny 1 that some of it was their own fault. Some of that blame does lie with Activision. This was their first time being given the Destiny IP as an independent studio, as Bungie. And now they've shown that they're willing to turn it into a proper franchise. And that's why I think they're worthy of the award, because they have listened to their community now that they've become independent.
Yeah.
I agree. It didn't start out as an independent, did it?
No, it started off because they...
With Activision?
No, so Activision owned Bungie, and it was sort of... If you ever read the read the book... Blood, Sweat and Pixels by Jason Schreier, it goes into Destiny quite a lot, and it talks about the antagonist relationship between Bungie and Activision and why they wanted to break away so much. And this is their first Destiny without Activision over their shoulders. And you can see that there's a willingness to try and turn this into their next big franchise.
Yeah.
Because
I personally think Destiny is a good shout. What are we saying then? What do we?
I think it's going to be Apex.
Okay. Chris?
Destiny.
That's
like the big redemption.
Yeah, Destiny 2 is the big redemption arc, isn't it? Because the community support as well for Apex started out so bad.
But it's gotten a lot better, and that in itself, I don't know. I'm being practical. Pragmatically speaking, based on what I see on a week-to-week basis with Apex, I think they've got the strongest shot.
Okay, I'm thinking Destiny as well. I think we'll see. I've moved on through esports, coach, gamer, best esports game.
Skipping those.
But
the industry's trying to push esports now because it's sort of becoming our version of the Olympics. When you think about it, we've already got our own version of the Oscars. We're now trying to create our own version of the Olympics. So the industry's really trying to push esports now.
Family game, which should be just the Nintendo genre, to be honest.
Yeah, the Nintendo game.
It should be best Nintendo game either. For the best game, the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform, i.e., Nintendo Switch.
Okay, the nominees.
Luigi's Mansion 3. We have Ring Fit Adventure.
I was about to suggest.
Yeah, Super Mario Maker 2, Super Smash Bros, Yoshi's Crafted World, and that's it.
So
I think
it's just Nintendo games.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be either Smash Bros or Luigi's Mansion, but I think Smash Bros. Like the amount of people I know that have played that game with their kids is ridiculous, and it was the hyped Nintendo Switch game. Like it was the sold. Don't forget when the Switch was first coming out, it was literally Zelda and Smash Bros were the two most hyped things people were looking forward to, and it was that during the initial sale of the Switch, people jumped on Smash Bros. Because most people getting a Switch were either dedicated Nintendo fans or kids.
after like hearing what they've been saying over the past like few years, obviously the demographic for the Switch is skewing a little bit different than what we expect, but there is a case that the Switch is definitely being used still for family games and family orientated experiences.
Not to see Pokemon on there, actually.
It's not
Yeah,
really
well,
a
it says the best
family-
family game, doesn't it?
It's
So
really a solo experience, Pokemon.
I personally think Super Mario Maker 2 has a good chance.
I can see why it's very creative, gets families.
But if
Making stuff together.
there is any kind of leaning towards putting a product on a pedestal, that Ring Fit Adventure
I was
is.
about to say that Ring Fit Adventure is actually it's quite unique.
They have been trying to
I was
push
very-
that, haven't they, in all the
I was very
videos and the
skeptical when
marketing.
they first announced it. What the hell is this?
I remember because we were here the day and you actually sat there and you went, "This looks shit." Yeah, I remember.
It looks shit.
Yeah.
But
But I saw gameplay of it. It's actually turned me around. It looks.
Look,
And
alright,
they've
yeah.
been pushing all the family orientated play in all their marketing event videos, everything.
That actually does.
You've actually
does
swayed
get you
me.
fit.
You've actually swayed
Actually
me.
makes you more exercise more.
You've swayed me a little
Mr.
bit, Chris.
I bet he was a massive fan of Wii Fit over here, wasn't he? Was you a proponent of Wii Fit?
No, it was not.
Of course he wasn't. So what's changed?
It's not gonna make you rich or anything. But
What are you doing like that?
It integrates exercises into actual mechanics.
It looks like a shake weight to me.
It looks like a shake weight.
You've swayed me a little bit there now, Chris, thinking back to the marketing though. But it's the question of, has it sold well?
Probably not.
I'll
I don't think so.
I'll have a Google.
Yeah.
Ring Fit Adventure.
Because families was what they pushed for across all their social channels and all their marketing and just everything about it as its presence.
Well, they've pitched the Switches at.
In the first week, it sold 64,000 copies, and now at Lifetime, it stands at 132,000. So not massive. That's in Japan as well. I don't personally.
It's done about as well as I expected.
Yeah, well, it might be a slow burner, but what do we think?
I'm gonna go with Super Smash Bros.
Super Smash Bros.
I think it's a safe bet.
Chris?
Could say Ring Fit Adventure.
Oh, here he goes. And I'm gonna say Smash Bros as well.
Well, I thought you'd
Actually,
go with Mario. I thought you'd go with Mario Maker. You. Because
It just depends. It came out and it has a lot of post-release support, hasn't it?
I see it all the time on Reddit. Like
I'm gonna say Super Mario Maker.
it's took off a lot.
Yeah,
played in Super
it does
Mario.
have such a dedicated fan base. If that fan base is family and kids, I don't really know. If it's just old, if it's just like 30-year-old men.
I have seen some really monstrous creations come out of it as well.
Best. Let me have a look.
Minecraft and Mario.
So best indie game, fresh indie game, recognising a new independent studio that released its first game in 2019. So we have Disco Elysium, Gris, My Friend Pedro, Outer Wilds, Forsplay the Spire, and the Untitled Goose Game.
Right, this
I think we all know which one's going to win.
I think we should just go straight to the thing here. I think
I actually think My Friend Pedro's got a running shot, you know.
it has a good chance, definitely. And just based off how many.
Well, I don't want to say the Untitled Goose Game just because it's just a meme. Like realistically, the studio's
That's why it's going to win.
it's the studio exists because of a meme. Like as a game, because I've played it. It's an alright game. Like
People are saying that it's
okay.
it's alright. It doesn't really
it
do
doesn't
anything
do anything.
much, and it's pretty short as well.
And the only reason I think the game's as sexual is because of the memes. But I think
Outer
My Friend
Wilds was a big
Pedro-
one.
Outer Wilds has done really well, even though you can tell they changed the name.
Yeah, definitely.
It was definitely Outer Worlds. It's set in space.
Set space and you go from different planets to planets.
They saw that announcement.
I'm gonna say Outer Wilds. Because during the release of that game, there was a
Do you know
big
what?
media.
In fact, no. I know why I'm gonna put it down as a safe
What are
bet.
you gonna say?
My Friend Pedro, because it sold, I think, over 1 million in its first week. Like I think it did. I could be wrong on this, but I think it did ridiculously well in its first week. I think it's really just increased the studio's finances.
500,000 sales
Okay.
in.
500,000.
Wait, what one was that? That was released. Oh, it's just a brief article. It says I don't know how much it's sold on Steam, but I can have a look.
Because Gris was really popular.
In its first week, it made 250,000 copies, which is crazy. But yeah, so what are you saying, Chris?
Goose Game.
Untitled. Oh yeah, that's
I
true.
don't want it to win, but I think it will.
You know what? No, I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna be hopeful. I'm gonna go with My Friend Pedro.
Let me have a look.
I think it's got a fighting chance.
We're gonna skip game direction, games for impact, and we're gonna go straight to independent games.
Well, I think game direction's one worthy one of looking at. A lot of effort goes into the direction of games.
It's basically the same nominations.
It's gonna be
as
Death
we've seen. It's
Stranding.
Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro, and Outer Wilds.
It'll be Death Stranding.
It'll be Death Stranding. We know it. Game direction and who's the director.
He's gonna win.
Exactly. Let's have a look. Independent games, we have Baba Is You, Disco Elysium, Katana Zero, Outer Wilds, Untitled Goose Game. Untitled Goose Game, I think. For an outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. I think Disco Elysium has a good chance. Or Outer Wilds.
I don't know much about Disco Elysium.
I don't either, but I've heard that it's...
I think Outer Wilds has a
great
chance because I've been here, especially in the last 2 months. It's been getting quite a few awards lately, and for an indie game to provide so much quantity,
Yeah.
I think it's got the chance. I'm gonna put my money on Outer Wilds.
Sweet. So, Outer Wilds. Chris, what are you thinking?
The Outer Wilds.
In your own, is it Goose you're betting on?
For the best independent game outside of the system, I'd probably say Goose Game, yeah.
The Goose has been let loose.
I know.
That's the best joke you've ever made.
I know.
Honk.
And then we have... I'm going to do one more,
Okay.
which is going to be... the best narrative game.
Oh, okay. I like this one. It's the best narrative game.
So, for the outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game, we have A Plague Tale, Innocence, Control, Death Stranding, Disco Elysium, Outer Worlds, and... well, that's it. I'll let. What are you thinking?
My biggest gripe with Outer Worlds was the story. I think that's what I set myself up too much for.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Death Stranding. It can't win.
No one knows what. No one understands the story.
I really want to say Outer Worlds, but I just don't. The story is just too. It's just two ways ultimately, and that's what my biggest issue was. It with something like Fallout New Vegas. It had so many branching paths. With this, it's just two. Ultimately, when you break it down to its core basic, it's just two paths.
Yeah.
Who are the other contenders? Sorry.
We have a Plague Tale Innocence. That's the one about the rat.
Yeah, I've seen.
I feel like that's gonna.
I think that's got a fighting shot.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of good things about that.
I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say a Plague Tale. Chris. Narrative. Plague Tale. I think that was just a cop out for Chris, really.
Well, I'm happy to bow out now.
I don't.
And Simran, what we're saying.
I want to say Disco Elysium, but I don't know anything about it. What is the story of Disco Elysium?
I have no idea.
I'm just gonna have to, because although I want it to be Outer Worlds, I don't think it'll win. I'm gonna have to just go with the safe bet and say Plague's Tale.
Yeah, Plague Tale. So that was our kind of recommendations. We'll have a look at that. We're gonna do a podcast next week
About the results,
and we'll go over some of the results. We also have a few of our developers round to the office next week, so we might be doing a special
Christmas
special with them. Yeah. But we'll see how it goes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Chris.
everyone.
Thank you for taking part in that. It's good to have you back, Simran.
Thank you, Kieran. It's good to be back. I've missed you all.
Yeah, we've missed you too. We have. Thank you for listening. We're looking forward to finding out kind of what Death Stranding doesn't win at this point. But we'll see. As always, look after yourselves, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week, everyone.
Bye.